Hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward!
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward!
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward!
Hard work, hard work, hard work.
Fall in.
Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. You know who it is. It's your boy, Trey the Commish, and you're rocking with your favorite vets on the First Formation Morning Sports Talk. So come on and fall in as we get to talking about what's been popping, what's happening in the world of sports. A lot going on, even though it was a 4th of July weekend, in which we all hope you enjoyed your 4th of July weekend, but it was still sports going on. Of course, one of those things, for the most part, being the Major League Baseball had it going. The NBA Summer League was on and popping as its two regions currently going down. The California Classic as well as the Salt Lake City Summer League before this Friday, in which they all transcend or ascend onto the city of Las Vegas to do the Las Vegas Summer League. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. Not much going on in the world of football. A lot of planning tapped in when it comes down to this boxing, the pugilistic sports. Of course, when you revert back to what it all is about, military basketball, we already know is going down this weekend, 7th through the 9th in Orlando, Florida. As you're going to be able to, if you're not there, I don't know what happened, but in any case, we'll talk about it before, after the AAU men's and women's Battle of the Shields going down in Orlando. A couple opportunities. We're gonna get to that as well. So first and foremost, as I was talking about in discussing, saying on this baseball tip, a hard ball in between the Diamonds, the Blue Jays just squeaked past the Toronto Blue Jays just squeaked past the Chicago White Sox by the score of 4-3. The Cleveland Guardians take out the Atlanta Braves by the score of 6-5. San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Angels face up, battle of the West. Padres get the dub 8-5. The Oakland A's take on the Detroit Tigers, which the Tigers was blanked 1-0. San Francisco Giants and the Seattle Mariners 6-0 for the Mariners. Phillies and Tampa Bay Rays. The Phillies edge out the Rays by the score of 3-1. The Arizona Diamondbacks get handled by the New York Mets by the score of 8-5. The Colorado Rockies and the Houston Astros 4-1 Astros. The Kansas City Royals take out the Minnesota Twins. Get taken out by the Minnesota Twins by the score of 9-3. The Chicago Cubs face off against the Milwaukee Brewers, and when the Cubs get the job, 7-6. A blowout from the Miami Marlins to the St. Louis Cardinals by the score of 15-2. Rangers get past the Red Sox 6-2. Cincinnati Reds 8-4 over the Washington Nationals. Baltimore Orioles fall 8-4 to the New York Yankees. And last but not least, the Los Angeles Dodgers getting handled by the Pittsburgh Pirates by the score of 9-7. Of course, no action in WNBA this week as they do look to basically face off starting tonight with, I believe, 4 games. The Atlanta Dream and the Los Angeles Sparks running back in LA as the Sparks was handed a huge L by the Dream on Monday. Both teams 7 wins on the year. The Mercury and the Liberty face off 11-4 Liberty to face off against the 3-12 Mercury. The Indiana Fever on the 5-11 on the year will be taking on the Minnesota Lynx in Minnesota. And last but not least, the hot streaking 9-game win streak in WNBA leading Las Vegas Aces will face off against the 500 8-8 Dallas Wings tonight in one of the WNBA's Commissioner Cup games. All right. So as I was stating and talked about it briefly, NBA. So we all know just this past week the NBA had its the beginning of the free agency period, to where of course players look to get ahead of in their pockets and put themselves in a perspective to possibly win as well as make some money while doing it. A lot of movement going on, no huge movements like for the most part, but there was some movement in any case. Uh, we've seen players like Draymond Green re-sign with the Golden State Warriors. Of course, we all know earlier in the year before the season ended last year. Before the season ended last year, Kevin Durant went to the Phoenix Suns. Just a couple of weeks before the beginning of the free agency, Bradley Beal was traded to the Phoenix Suns as well. Um, Other players, Ryan Hachimura, Austin Reeves, running back with the LA Lakers. Um, Chris Middleton is back in the fold, as well as Brooke Lopez and his brother Robin Lopez, as they both signed with Milwaukee. All three signed with the Milwaukee Bucks just this morning. Malik Beasley, just yesterday, Malik Beasley signed a deal to be a Milwaukee Buck as well. Lonnie Walker goes to the Nets. Um, Patty Mills now with his fellow countryman Josh Giddey in Oklahoma City. So it's been some stuff going on. This yesterday, Bobo, son of Manute Bol, was released by the Orlando Magic. So he's out there on waivers, of course, going off of last year's um, draft. Of course, Detroit Pistons have first dibs on him to grab him up, while he's on waivers for the mid level. So it's been a lot going on for the most part. Still out there, or still rumored, of course, Damian Lillard, guard for the Portland Trailblazers, requested a trade, with the ideal spot being him to get potentially traded to the Miami, correction, not Dolphins. My mind's on football. Miami Heat, in which, of course, it was stated that they would do their best to try to give him that, but in state is they're going to do what's best for the team and what's the best offer in which they can get as an organization. Um, Talks in reference to Paul George potentially being a person of interest to go somewhere or be moved by the Los Angeles Clippers, as well as, of course, who's still out there is James Harden. As for the most part, there is no true. Well, for Harden's a little bit different. He's an actual free agent, so he doesn't have to work. He has to take in consideration that if he's not signed, he opted in. Well, technically, I guess he is. He did opt into his contract, so he's obligated to play. Or if they're going to keep him shelved as they try to find a suitable person deal to move him. So key names out there still: um, Harden, Lillard, as well as Paul George. I'm very sure there's a couple of players here and there that are potentially to be moved, if any of those. Currently, what is understood is that I think it's even my not Miami. It's even actually it is Miami. Miami's has continued to try to center a trade around Tyler Hero to Portland in order to get the services of Damian Lillard. But one of the things that keep on popping up is the fact that Tyler Hero has a 4-year, $120 million contract that is lingering, and which is not necessarily that the team probably doesn't. Teams don't want Hero, if they don't want that contract. 30 million on for 30 million a year could be pretty hefty for a player that maybe teams honestly might not be seeing to be worth that 30 million. But of course, at the time Miami signed them. So currently that seems to be what is the holdup, is that contract. So additionally, what's going to most likely have to happen, as stated last week, is that there's definitely going to have to be like a 3 or 4 team trade to where someone is willing to take that, as well as some compensation maybe from the other teams in the process. But of course, it can be pretty hard when the primary player in that trade is that of Damian Lillard, who would most likely be going to, or they would be trying to get to Miami. And then the reluctancy of any other team for the most part, especially if those teams that were vying to get Dame, in which I believe Dame has no trade clause, which basically he has to agree to be traded to the organization. So, you know what I'm saying? That's a whole thing. But we continue to be on the lookout and see when it breaks, you'll see it or you'll hear about it for the most part. Going back in, of course, the beginning of the Summer League, as I stated, happened on Monday, July the 3rd. Lost the California Classic, which pits Miami Heat, Los Angeles Lakers, and San Antonio Spurs. Charlotte Hornets and the Golden State Warriors and Sacramento Kings against one another to get the Summer League started. That game, basically, that day, all 6 teams played, in which the Miami Heat edged out the Los Angeles Lakers by the score of 107-90, in which this is so hurtful to me. Of course, as I thought he would, Jaime Jaquez, LA, you should have got your hands on him. Should have got your hands on him. He made you realize and see why you should have drafted him as opposed to who was that? Casino. But in any case, Jaime Jaquez led the field, 22 points, 3 rebounds, and 1 assist to lead his Miami Heat team in the Summer League. And all actuality, which is pretty efficient, he was 22 minutes, played 22 points for the most part. Next closest to him, Nikola Jokic, 21 points, 13 rebounds from Dennis Smith. 13 points from Dennis Smith and 13 points from Oscar Robertson. So they had it going, of course. Additionally, were the Lakers. The Lakers stats. Boo. Disregard. This Max Christie led the team with 17 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal. Cole Swider, 13 points. Hood Schifino, Fino as they call him, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, which wasn't bad for the rookie. Figueroa with 13 points, 11 points from Colin Castleton. As the Lakers fell to the Miami Heat by the score of 107-90, a thrashing, 17-point thrashing. Look for the Lakers to, I think they're in action tonight in the California Classic versus the San Antonio Spurs. So that's going to be a matchup to pitting the number 2 drafted Brandon Miller in the action, as he also faced off against the San Antonio Spurs on the 3rd as well, Monday. But of course, the number 1 drafted Victor Wembanyama did not play, as he looks to make his debut during the Las Vegas Summer League Regional, in which they're going to get it, be there. But he did not play in this game. But even in this, with him not playing, the Spurs took care of business with a score of 98-77 over the Charlotte Hornets. Excuse me. Champagne, 30 points, 30-point effort, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 steals for the San Antonio Spurs. Of course, for the Charlotte Hornets, led by Brandon Miller's 18, although it was a little bit shaky initially. Also, the whole team for the Charlotte was a little bit shaky. They got out. Sacramento actually got out to a pretty good lead, sizable lead in the first half. The second half, Charlotte tried to make it a game. Of course, San Antonio continued to push the pace, opened the lead up a little, and was able to get away with a pretty convincing win in state. But like I stated, Miller finished with 18 points on the night. 18 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block for the rookie in his debut in the Summer League. Other game, or was it? Oh, sorry, I got turned around a little bit. The other game from that night, of course, Lofton Jr. is as advertised. I think they finally got to get that man a chance. He's most likely going to possibly get a chance during this summer league or even this upcoming season, especially with Ja Morant currently out. New additions of Smart and Derrick Rose um, probably finally gets the opportunity. Kenny Lofton Jr. Basically putting up 21 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals um, in 30 minutes of play in the summer league game. Um, Additional contributions from Brandon Williams Jr. with 19 points, 7 rebounds on his night, 10 points from Garrett Jackson Jr. The second, um, to basically walk, just barely squeak past the Philadelphia 76ers by the score of 94-92. 76ers led by Council the fourth, 11 points, 8 points from to Smith, 18 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists, 15 points from Stewart, as the 76ers fall in the Salt Lake City Classic. Salt Lake City. I'm sorry, I'm tongue twisted. Salt Lake City Summer League in Utah. Who else we had? So actually, let me see the schedule. Tonight is going down, or well, let me dial back. I'll run it back 1 second. Uh, um, so California Classic, 3 games tonight. Golden State Warriors face off against the Charlotte Hornets, Miami Heat, and Sacramento Kings, as well as the San Antonio Spurs and the Los Angeles Lakers are due to compete tonight, being their last night, and then the teams will pack it up and head down to to Las Vegas to get ready for that league from Salt Lake City. Still 2 more nights of gameplay, in which tonight the Memphis Grizzlies will take on the Oklahoma City Thunder, who I might say, Chet Holmgren not looking too bad in his gameplay. Philadelphia 76ers and Utah Jazz, Oklahoma City Thunder, and Philadelphia 76ers face off again on Thursday, July 6th. That 6 is a pretty good number. Memphis Grizzlies and Utah Jazz to finish it out um, for their competition, and then again, all of them would head down to Sacramento, to Las Vegas, just down the coast, up over to the coastline, or just over across the state line to get ready for the summer league games in Las Vegas. First up for in that on that night, the 7th, the first rounds of games, as I pulled it up, being New Orleans Pelicans, Minnesota Timberwolves, 1 of 8 games on the 7th, Denver Nuggets and the Milwaukee Bucks. The Chicago Bulls face off against the Toronto Raptors. The Portland Trailblazers and Houston Rockets do battle. That should be a good game. I'm looking to see what the young core look like in Houston. Cleveland Cavaliers and Brooklyn Nets. Charlotte Hornets, San Antonio Spurs. Sacramento Kings face off against the Atlanta Hawks. And last but not least, the Golden State Warriors will close out the night versus the Los Angeles Lakers in Las Vegas Summer League action. So as stated before, we are talking about the Wave Bowl, which is interesting. Bowl actually averaged what was it, 7-8? I think he was 9-8 or something like that, 981 block a game, and was waived. I guess those numbers aren't shabby, um, especially when he started 33 games. But I guess when you take in consideration what he's being paid, or what he could potentially be paid, and with the added draft stock in which they have, Orlando just had to go ahead and let him go. But for one man's unfortunates comes another man's fortunes. Anthony Edwards for the Minnesota Wolves, signed a rookie extension of 5 years, $260 million, basically reaching the same one in which LaMelo Ball got just last week, putting him under contract for the next 6 years, as it is not due to kick in till next season. So Edwards is locked in for the most part in Minnesota, or at the least locked into the league another 6 years, pushing him through the 2023-24, from the 23-24 to the 29-30 season. Additionally, who was it? Didn't someone else sign a deal? If I can find it, I find it. Additionally, we know Kyle Bridges basically signs his qualifier offer, so we look to see him back in action. He was an up and rising talent, basically cut down by decisions, unfortunate decisions on his behalf, to where it put him in possession, potential danger to where he could have did some serious time. Basically sat out a year. The Hornets give him a qualifying offer. He signs that qualifying offer and looks to be back in the fray, probably to build upon, put himself back in position to even get another extension in Charlotte, or be a trade asset. It's interesting how these things happen. But in any case, shout out to Bridges getting back into the fold. So, Dame Lillard. I continue to look and watch this potentially unfold, and wonder what is the possibility that Dame even gets moved this year. If Dame isn't moved currently, I'm very sure, especially if they're not competitive, that there's going to start to be some type of contention to where we might see a situation to where Dame might start to sit out, because just as James Harden did, he was very contentious. He started to be a detriment to the team, and there was no reason for him to be a part of the organization. They basically sent him home and kept him away from the practice facility until they was able to find a trade or make a move. Looking at this Dame Lillard situation, knowing that he only wants to go to Miami for the most part, not against going to the Nets in Brooklyn. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Moving stuff around the garage. I think it's allergies, but there's a possibility of this happening. When is basically the question at this point. For the most part, a lot of people that made moves and moved on to organizations that probably would be a draw are not eligible, I believe, to be traded till January 1st. So that puts that type of thing in a potential trade and fray, unless it's players that weren't moved via free agency. I think if it was a trade, then they have to be at least with the organization for 30 days. So with that being said, could in which the Portland brass has stated that they're open to waiting to see how everything plays out. They're not in any rush at all. In which, when you have the rights for the most part, you can do that. But of course, with the no trade clause, Dame Dash has to be able to sign off on that, and he gets an opportunity to wager in his head what it is or how it's going to be going, or what it is, or how does it all play out. If he doesn't like it, he doesn't have to simply accept it. What's good, Key? What's going on? How you doing? What's going on? Philly kind of didn't do much, huh? Still got, you know what? That brings up another player, Tobias Harris, still in the fold. So I think there's a lot of pieces that are out there, especially when we come to this market where potentially players can be moved and traded. James Harden, Tobias Harris, Damian Lillard, Paul George. So on the sneak tip, there's still some possibilities for some movement, still to make possible quote unquote blockbuster trades to still being pushed out there. Pat Bev, that's what's up. You got to antagonize her. You always got to hunt the good stuff. Key got to hunt the good stuff. Never know what that might bring. Nah, you need to keep him over there in the East. Keep him over in the East. No need to come back to the West. He's good where he is in the East. But I mean, does that even make sense though? I mean, to the Clippers, trading James Harden to the Clippers, what does that look like? Like, let's break that down for a second. In doing that, that trade means what? Philadelphia gets Paul George. I don't see a situation to where, or what is it, capital, some money, manpower. Oh, manpower and Morris. Well, that's different. Trey Man, Norman Powell, Monte Morris. But so that's basically trading away depth to put together what could potentially, on paper, when you look at it, could be a dominant four, making that bring okay, that yeah, that could be that could be a problem. That can be a serious problem. Can you imagine uh Harden, Westbrook, Kawhi, Paul George, all under the same roof to rival that of Anthony Davis, LeBron James, D'Angelo Russell, and Austin Reeves in LA? That would look different. Uh, they got one. They got Trey Man. They got Bones Jones. Well, that's part. You know, what I'm saying that's true. He has trouble doing. But then, like I said, it would be that time, like we talked about the other day, where we was going back and forth over where would the Lakers Clippers pecking order be in the West, and you just can't pinpoint that because you don't know if it's going to be, you don't know who you're getting, what team is pulling up. Or you got the team in which Trey Man and Norman Powell are the go getters for the organization, or is it the team in which Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are the dominant ones, or are suiting up and on the court? So without that being said, without knowing that, it's pretty hard to say. But I honestly think the Clippers are going to finish in which currently a couple of people put together a wager in which they believe that the Los Angeles Clippers, the wager was if the Clippers would finish in the bottom four. Did I like the Lakers moves made? So I still think we're lacking in shooting, in which just off the rip, in which we that we didn't get. I think we got a little more, we got a little younger, we got a little more athleticism, but we still lack in shooting. Because at the point at which teams are able to lock down and close off the middle and avoid drives, avoid an opportunity to get Anthony Davis the ball in the post, that's where we lack that. So that's why I think we did a good job. Like I said, Teron Prince, Jackson Hayes, bring back Hachimura and Reeves, resign Russell, um, Cam Reddish, Vanderbilt. So I think we brought back some athleticism, as well as some maybe even some defense, signing of Gabe Vincent, but we didn't get any shooting. So now we have to sit on the prowess of these players, these young players, maybe during exit interviews or uh, during interviews in general as an opening to free agency, that these players are going to commit to bettering the ability to shoot. And I think that's where it's basically at this point. Lack shooting, that showed for us last year. Actually, defense, of course, defense not be able to defend the line. But in that Denver series, it was just at times in which there was nothing in which we were going to be able to do. So it was like, what was the use at some point? Jokic just hitting 3 pointers off his back left foot from 26 feet out with AD in his face, and it's saying that high arcing shot is like at some point it's like it's nothing we can do at this point. It's just that you just basically trickling um, out and down. So, but maybe it just got a little more athletic in my opinion. So I wouldn't necessarily say they dominated in my opinion, but I think they wouldn't have did some work. They put in some work. Um, Palinka Rob Pelinka show he knows what he's doing a little bit at his position, in his position. But I don't, for the life of me, I don't see how we can't get any shooting. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Maybe that's what he, or maybe that's a part of. Maybe that's a part of Freddie. Freddie, I understand. Maybe that's just a part of his game plan. Maybe the idea of stuff. Look and see who's going to be what type of shooters he can get for a bargain at the trade deadline to see who's available after they've been consistent and they've had at least 40 games under their belt to see what the shooting is and see who is potentially available. So maybe that starts to turn the tide where he can do an assessment of his own organization and look at assessing some of the other players that's out there and possibly bring in some shooting after the fact. So I remain positive that they'll find it. All they got to do is hold the line. All you got to do is be one of 6 to be safe. But because you see what happens when you're in that 7 through 10, 2 people get eliminated, and then those 2 come in and they can do the eliminating themselves. So no one's safe in my opinion. No one's safe at all. But yeah, so that's what I give. You know what? If I was to give them a grade, I would grade the Lakers at a B- for the moves that they made. Still remains to be seen. I give them at this point my grade is a B-. Maybe a B, but it's a B. Enough to have a 3.0 at that table. Just my opinion. But who am I? Moving on, continue on, of course. Taking a look at what's going on in the NFL off season. I was reading an article this morning, right? And while reading this article, I looked at what was actually a pretty keen, interesting article. So what? Let me make sure I get the right name right. Um, Let me find it, or did I close? No, here it is. So what? Writer Chad Reuter, draft analyst for the NFL on NFL.com. What Chad did is he constructed yesterday. He constructed a article to where, in which I'm not going to go over all 7, but he constructed an article to where he did a comprehensive look and build a win now team but through 7 rounds if it was a draft using the NFL's active players from the 2023 season. So of course that's every player that currently is in the league now, in which he put them all in the pool using last year's or this just past year's draft, and basically went through and did a draft, removing draft trades and all that type of stuff, whatever the schedule was or whatever the draft pick was initially is where that draft pick stayed, and which yielded some interesting results as I go through and take a look and see the first 32 players and teams um, draft orders, interesting enough, to where looking at who was the who's who in last year's and putting them in position. So, of course, first and foremost, if it was to be that, I guess you could say this is almost like a fantasy draft type situation. If you was to see that with the first pick, if the Bills, Bears hadn't traded their pick and all the players from last year were in the fold, the Chicago Bears would have been expected to select Patrick Mahomes with their first pick, which a lot of quarterbacks go the first round. So that honestly shows you, to a standpoint of what is the perceived value of positions in the NFL. Quarterback being the premier position for the most part. Very little prowess on defense for the most part. But as you go through, you'll see here. So with the first pick, Chicago Bears, Patrick Mahomes. Pick number 2, the Houston Texans get Joe Burrow. Interesting indeed. The Cardinals now get another selection. They select Josh Allen at the third slot. Philly's beloved Jalen Hurts goes to the Indianapolis Colts with the fourth selection. At selection number 5, Denver Broncos, Aaron Rodgers, he would think. Interesting. Um, in Atlanta, LA with the sixth pick, Trevor Lawrence. Land of Las Vegas, switching sides and going to the enemy. The Las Vegas Raiders select Justin Herbert. At the sixth spot, the Atlanta Falcons get Lamar Jackson. So Lamar Jackson to Atlanta. Almost bringing back that nostalgic heyday of Michael Vick. At number 9, running the back, the Carolina Panthers would select Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott to the Carolina Panthers, which puts the number 10 pick in the Saints in the Saints basket, in which they would go defense, one of the first defensive players, of that being Aaron Donald, defensive tackle in the Saints, which I can see that type of DNA. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. At number 11, Justin Fields will come in, basically going to Tennessee. At 12, Deshaun Watson, staying with his team. The Jets will select Tyreek Hill, bringing in the speedy Tyreek Hill into the fray at number 13. At 14, New England brings Nick Bosa, another defensive stalwart. Green Bay going defense as well with Micah Parsons. Staying on the defensive action, the Washington Commanders will go at number 16, will select Myles Garrett. Trent Williams, offensive tackle, going to Pittsburgh. The Detroit Lions select a wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, which is interesting. Justin Jefferson to go number 18 to the Detroit Lions. Very interesting. Maybe we see see the reason why in round 2. At number 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Kirk Cousins. That's no difference to having Baker Mayfield, in my opinion. But I digress. Seattle Seahawks select Sauce Gardner, bringing a defensive edge to the squad. Tua Tagovailoa stays put in Miami. Devontae Adams goes to the Chargers. So basically, a switch in a sense. The Chargers losing Justin Herbert, but taking Devontae Adams later on. The Baltimore Ravens get Jamar Chase in the trade. The Minnesota Vikings get Travis Kelce. The Jacksonville Jaguars, Christian McCaffrey at the 25th pick. At number 26, A.J. Brown goes to the New York Giants, giving them a receiver, that receiver help they've been looking for. Dallas Cowboys select Stephon Diggs. Buffalo Bills, T.J. Watt. The Cincinnati Bengals, Chris Jones at the 29th pick. The 49ers, Russell Wilson at the 30th spot. 31 goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, and Kyler Murray is the selection. I guess maybe the same as Jalen Hurts, so it probably I could get it. And the 32nd pick being last year's comeback player of the year, or most improved player of the year, Geno Smith at the 32nd slot. So I would be interested to see what's in the second round, to see the decision making and his opinion for what would be going on. So as I click up and bring up the second round, running it back. He said he did have Freddie. There was no one's saying that they didn't have a great one, in which they was, I wouldn't say great, or she said dominant. So great and dominant are two different things. So did you think we had a great one, Freddie, or did we had a dominant one? Those are two different aspects. I think yes, we might have had a great one, but I don't think it was a dominant one. We still lack shooting in state, and that's what that's what we need, shooting. Because if we had shooting, then we wouldn't have to worry about LeBron trying to do that all the time. So I think there's a lack of shooting in the Los Angeles with the Lakers as opposed to anything else. I think you need more in order to put LeBron in a position to where, or even at least it was though. I guess normally the Lakers would go all in and make a huge mistake like before, so that's made it dominant. What shooters do we have, Freddie? They shot 38% last year, or they shoot that on a consistent clip 35, 38% on a consistent clip. We got younger. I stated that when, as I was saying, the key, we got younger. We got athletic. Teron Prince, one shooter. Gabe, what did D'Lo do for us? What has D'Lo done for us lately? Those are not consistent shooters. They're not consistent 3-point shooters. They can stroke it from maybe 22 in. We need to get to the play. We need to get to the playoffs. So that 50% from the playoffs isn't conducive to what is an 82 game season was going to be. So what do you think has been done to help us on an 82 game season? We got younger, true. We got probably a little better defensively, or had the ability to handle. So I just don't think we got better at shooting. Consistent shooting. I think you got streaky shooters. And I don't think that helps us to have a streaky shooter, because that has been our lore is streaky shooting. The year that we won the championship, we had Kyle Kuzma, Rajon Rondo, who was stroking it from at the arc, Contavious Caldwell Pope. So we look and see what they did when they moved on. All the people who moved on, what they did. Of course, Rondo, he got bounced out the league. But in any case, that's where we was at. Alex Caruso, who was another streaky shooter. So that's what I was saying. I don't doubt that. I think Cam is going to have a good. And I'm saying that, so basically, in my opinion, Rajon Rondo in the bubble during that season, or during championship season, was that of what Gabe Vincent and was, or even Rui Hachimura was in the playoffs. It was his ability to shoot the ball. He was knocking down 3-pointers in that bubble. That was the difference. We're gonna see, Freddie. I mean, we'll see. I'm not gonna say I just gotta see it, man. I just, like I said, that was just my personal opinion. When I look at it, we didn't get better shooting. Consistent, like at least two people that's consistent. Two people that's consistent, and three to make it to where someone's gonna have to run out. Like when I sitting there looking at a scouting report and seeing that, okay, I don't want to see. Look at a scouting report. I don't want to see something where it's like it fluctuates to where the coach is like, all right, you know what I'm saying, this is what we can do, lag off. Like you name 4 people. You say not Cam Reddish, D'Angelo Russell. That is a fact that the 76ers look like they didn't do anything. Yeah, and that's why I agree. They did get better, which to get a good grade. Like I say, I give them a B minus, B plus, B minus on the grade. It's just I feel like what we need to contend is not what they did. To be contentious is not what we did. I mean, to contend complete, they contenders. They're contenders, in my opinion, to make it a B. Yeah, a B. What you give them, Freddie? A minus, A plus? I hope you're not an A plus. They definitely didn't do that. So this is why I look at it, right? This is how I look at it as. If not another single marquee player was to come to LA, and we got smacked in the Western Finals. We got smacked in the Western Finals. And we brought in a bunch of players that didn't make it to that played for teams that didn't do anything in that except for Gabe Vincent, Teron Prince. Hell, they didn't even give him the respect of letting him know that he wasn't going to get his year picked up and released him. Cam Reddish played for the Portland Trailblazers. So yes, we got, we brung in some talent, but I mean, when you take in consideration, we have to choose which side of the spectrum we line on. Are we looking at what they did last year? Are we looking at what they potentially can do as a perspective from what we've seen them? Are we looking at so all that kind of goes out the window? I'm very sure it's based on their overall as opposed to what they did just a year ago, unless they showed an improvement from the years in which they played. Freddie, come on, stop it, fam. You saying that we didn't get killed in the Western Conference finals? That they were close? Those games, so they may have been close, but we gave up or was getting ran through and had to make a push. I don't know if that's basketball is a game of runs in state. So I don't know if we can say that. I wouldn't say that we got swept. We had leads, relinquished leads, got pulled away, couldn't close out games. That isn't great for the most part. And some of those players, we still have Austin Reeves, we still have Rui Hachimura, we still have D'Angelo Russell. And out of those three names in which I just named, only two of them showed up in the Western Conference Final. Like D'Angelo Russell kind of saved us during the Golden State series. But yeah, that's Ron Foot was hurt. So let's not forget. So this is what I look at. LeBron's foot was hurt. True that. But did LeBron play? I feel like you can't sit up and we can't be like, oh, well, this was wrong. Everyone knew LeBron knew his foot wasn't perfect. So if he took it upon himself to step on the floor and lace it up, then it has to sit up and take that into consideration. And we can't use that as a thing that LeBron's foot was hurt, was broken, was hurt because he got on the court, which said to us he was able to play. Anything the ridicule would come, in my opinion, that he got on the court when he probably shouldn't have, and that was it. Because in that game, when the game, he went in, scored all them points, and then we didn't see him the rest of the quarter. So that's when I look at that, I was like, I take that with a grain of salt. With a healthier Ron, we're going to see. Because I think what we're looking for I think we continue to look for Superman to come out the booth, and we continue to see Clark. So that's where that part comes in. Like, I won't continue to look at it like the planet of Krypton produced him, but now I think he's starting to weaken, and I think with that's it. I think he's just at this point he's going to be reduced from superstar. It's his legacy in which he's living on right now, in which everyone continues to believe, okay, LeBron, like he garners to be, he can't be left alone, or you can't just let him rock. That's definite. But I mean, actually, you can't let him rock. I think LeBron's a player now that you can let him get his. It's just shut down everyone else, and you could potentially win. So I think it needs the mindset needs to switch and change and start to look at LeBron for what he is. He's a 38-year-old veteran that has a lot of tread, that has a lot of miles on his body, and he's a polarizing person. But I don't know if the what if goes with who he is actually. I mean, he was going to play, but he was done. Yes, okay. Missing layups, correct. Different Bron. He's actually trusting the young gods, and that's what he needs. I think if LeBron can play a role, and that role being the one in which he can be dominant in that role, then we're good. But if he continues to be the one, like I cringe, like I said last year, I cringe at seeing his impact is still there. Yes, it is. The impact is still there for the most part. I do believe that, but it's only if he plays a role. If I don't believe it's LeBron's team anymore. Correct. It's AD's team. The ball, everything goes through AD. It's not LeBron's team anymore. At this point, LeBron is just a vessel in which forces people to take a look at and watch out for. That's my opinion at this point. He's always going to. I mean, you can't, if LeBron's on the court, you can't just not pay attention to him. So he garners attention, but he doesn't garner the attention like he used to be back in the day. Even as far as 10 years ago, he's not that LeBron anymore. So and that's the part. Is AD ready to take it? Maybe. If AD can start to pull it off, then we might be into something. And LeBron's playing a role. All the role players are clicking. Maybe D'Angelo Russell, is it his opportunity to slip and take the helm to tap in? Gabe Vincent. You got Austin Reeves that can expound and be better. Does Austin Reeves put himself in position to be the sixth man of the year or the most valuable player? I mean, not most valuable player, sixth man of the year, or the most improved player? Is that, could that be Austin Reeves as he continues to ascend? Can we put that? Is that a possibility? You got Rui, so it's like now it's a rotation now, but it's also on Darvin Ham to find how he's going to make that mesh and how he's going to put that together with a bunch of same similar type players in state. Honestly, when you look at it, he got to get the best that he can out of LeBron. He has to get the best he can out of AD. He has to be able to push. So now it's going to be a point to where it's going to start, in my opinion, it's going to start to be some movement to where you have to look at, okay, now we got to sit and make moves. Somebody got to sit the bench. Someone got to get diminished hours. Someone has to be able to talk to them, let them be know, like, okay, I don't think you're going to be the best fit for this situation. So we just going to, this is my rotation, 7 to 8 man, 9-man rotation. Watch those rookies and see how they build. Scottie Pippen Jr., Cole Swider, and watch them. So it just becomes that, or so everyone got to go get it in state. Lonnie Walker looked good initially, and then he fell off, and then he came back, helped him and Rondo him and Russell saved us in the series, and then once again disappeared. Was that to the discretion of the Denver's Nuggets' ability to thwart the Lakers' offense, or was that the moment was too big? And what you saying, Malik Beasley, nice initially, off regular season, disappears in the playoffs. In my opinion, Vanderbilt probably should have been let go, but they didn't. They kept him, in which he did an all right job against Steph. But then when we needed him again later on, it started to be a spotty job against Steph. And then the next round, non-existent. So all that comes into play, and that's all I'm saying is that yes, we got better. I don't think considerably better, but we got better at some positions. A point guard and Gabe Vincent, probably a true point guard. I'm very sure D'Angelo Russell, reserve guard. You still have Austin Reeves that can bring the ball up. Of course, LeBron, even though I think it's time for them to remove that, but LeBron tends to bring the ball up. So you got a couple of players in that aspect. I just think we didn't get better from a shooting aspect. But I mean, it remains to be seen. All comes out. LeBron will prove us to be right or wrong. So I'm sorry, got off on a tangent real quick. So going back to what we just talked about, right? The NFL. So in that, in which I wanted to see where did we end up at, because in state, I just looked at where, and so in this, of course, just like anything else or any other fantasy draft, one of the ideal things was to spread out as much talent as possible. That they did the snake draft. So of course, like I said, the last pick was Geno Davis at number 32. So coming up with the second pick, of course, the 33rd in the second round would have been Cooper Kupp. So that's a Cooper Kupp and Geno Davis connection. The Philadelphia Eagles will select Jalen Ramsey. At the 35th pick, the 49ers select Jack Martin at offensive guard. Bryce Young comes in. Interesting, stating that Bryce Young could be one of the top players. The Cincinnati Bengals get him at 36 for the quarterback. The Buffalo Bills, Derek Carr. The Dallas Cowboys select Patrick Surtain the second. So Surtain at the cornerback, they uh picked up Diggs at the receiver spot. Matthew Stafford goes to New York at the 39th. The 40th selection, Quentin Davis Williams. Minnesota selects Lane Johnson for the line. Anthony Richardson gets picked up by the Baltimore Ravens, putting the Richardson and Chase connection. Probably not bad. Jared Goff to the Chargers to go along with Devontae Adams. Jeffrey Simmons at the 44th to Miami. Derrick Henry comes in Seattle at the 45th selection. 46, Tristan Wirfs staying with his team. Andrew Thomas, and for the Lions, the Pittsburgh Steelers run back George Kittle. So Kittle and Williams. CeeDee Lamb goes to the Washington at the 49th. At the 50th, Mark Andrews to the Green Bay Packers. Cameron Heyward to the New England Patriots at the 51st. The New York Jets get Daniel Jones at the 53rd. The Cleveland Browns select Max Crosby. The 54th selection, Tennessee Titans get Nick Chubb. New Orleans Saints at the 55th bring it back with Josh Jacobs. So that puts a defensive and offensive player in 2 rounds. Carolina Panthers, Dexter Lawrence with the 56th. The 57th, the Atlanta Falcons select Deebo Samuel, which is crazy with the fact that the Atlanta Falcons selected Lamar Jackson initially. Jalen Waddle gets selected by the Raiders at the 58th. The 59th, the Los Angeles Rams bring in Fred Warner. 60, the Denver Broncos and Joey Bosa. 61, DeForest Buckner for the Colts. And 62, the Cardinals get Jair Alexander. And finish up the last 2 picks in the round would be Brian Burns to the Texans, and Chicago Bears getting offensive guard Christian Lindstrom to protect the backside of Patrick Mahomes. So very, very interesting. It just to that aspect. I just want to talk about that and share that to where is what it would be like, or just a perspective of that. So in other things, of course, before we get ready to get up out of here, short time, the it's getting ready to go down. Again, like I said, pugilistic sports, if that's what you're into, in the boxing arena, you got a couple of headliners coming up in the course of the next month. Of course, this month, July, we're in July, a week into July already. At the end of the month, we already know what's going down. Bud Crawford, Errol Spence to face off to determine an undisputed champion. In September, at the end of September, the 30th, of course, Canelo Alvarez will be facing off against Jermell Charlo, as opposed to Jamal Charlo. Initially, he was supposed to face Jamal, but it was stated that Jamal isn't going to be able to make that bout in September. So he will face his twin brother Jermell Charlo, as they will fight at the 168 weight, which will in turn put Canelo Alvarez's undisputed title on the line. But it's interesting even at 168 because Charlo, that being Jermell, has not. I mean, Jermell Charlo has not fought above 154 pounds as of yet, and he's going up 13 pounds to fight Canelo at the 168. So I'm sorry, 165. So that'd be interesting to see. I think that's a huge disadvantage, but I guess you do what you got to do to make it happen. So, but it will be putting 2 undisputed champions against each other. Jamal picking up the slack for his brother, and going to make it happen, of course. Currently, Alvarez is fighting on what is a 3 fights. He has 3 fights that he has to fight this year, which he's going to fight this one, which he would have liked to have fought it on the 16th of September. However, Las Vegas already had something on the docket as the MMA would be having occupying Las Vegas on during that time frame. So they moved it to the 30th, and then he has another fight next year in in May, in around the Cinco de Mayo time frame, and then last to finish off that contract, he has another fight in September during the Mexican Independence fight in or around the Mexican Independence Day, which is in or around the middle of the month. So already know it's just a matter. We know when he's going to fight. It's just a matter of putting together who he's going to fight, and they kind of probably come into in the picture as we go on. Of course, I foresee if he was to take an L to Charlo, then he's probably going to fight uh, him again. Will probably become another a rematch. Of course, if he ends up beating him, he'll probably move on to take on his brother in one of those bouts, and then go on from there. So I definitely foresee where it could potentially be a um, a Charlo situation back to back, win or lose, for May to fight again next May. Um, where else? Who else? What we got? Uh, I think that's where I could leave you fellas off with. So, getting back into what I need to do to finish up the rest of this fabulous evening. Um, Again, be sure to tap in, take a look. The AAU Battle of the Crest, Battle of the Shields going down in Orlando this weekend, 7 through 9, where you get an opportunity to see some of the best and brightest military basketball players, men and women, compete against one another. Last I knew, in which I spoke with on Wayne, they had 7 women's teams, 20 men's teams, or 19 men's teams put together, shaken together, and ready to be unleashed onto the courts to where they get. I was simply thinking about it yesterday, in which what's good, Stanton, what's going on there, General? How you doing there, brother? Um, but I was looking at it to where three people, two people, two people have the possibility to walk away with a trifecta, right? That being Coach Wayne Walcott, as well as Coach Jasmine Green, have the opportunity to walk away with not one, not two, but three potential championships, or winning, to be the winning coach uh, during this tournament. Because, of course, Coach Walcott is going to be coaching a men's team, he's going to be coaching a women's team, and he's going to be competing in the coaches one-on-one challenge, in which they are expected to have. That's three opportunities for Coach Wayne Walcott to walk away and be victorious. On the opposite side of the spectrum, that is the same possibility for Coach Jasmine Green of the Joint Base Langley Eustace Raptors, as she will be coaching the men's team. She will be playing as a player in. She will be playing as a player uh, on a women's team, and then competing potentially as a coach on a one-on-one joint. So, which opportunity? Three players have the opportunity. Two players have the opportunity, or two individuals have the opportunity to walk away with a trifecta on the night. Be in the winner's circles, not one, not two, but three times. You can definitely witness that being in the building. Um, or if not, I'm very sure someone's going to be there, probably live streaming and recording. I have to get with Coach Walcott to see if there's going to be a viewing possibility, or how would tournament be able to be viewed, or is there going to be a possibility for any of the championship games to be viewed, so people will be able to tap in. Of course, I'm very sure the tournament will continue to grow and move forward. So always looking forward to that, as well as I'll be doing in contact with who I can, so I can know. So we could definitely set it up to get them individuals on the show the following week. So it's going to be a whole vibe. Basically, keep people keep tap they stay tapped in and keep you locked in to where you're going. But for me, I'm up out of here, getting ready to get to it for the day. I hope y'all enjoyed Labor Day is around the corner, a couple of months. Y'all's 4th of July weekend. Popped some firework, ate some good. Um, enjoyed the reason for the season. But until then, I highly out y'all should be able to see me tomorrow. If not, it'll be out there when you see me again. Until then, trade the commission, first formation. We out of here. Peace. Enjoy your day.